Letzte Rose, wie magst du so einsam mir blühen? Hello everybody. Today I'm making a rose dome arrangement. I like to buy flowers from the grocery store, and if there's something that just catches my eye, then that is the springboard for creating an arrangement. Things come in seasonally, things come in randomly, but part of the fun of making a flower arrangement for me is not knowing what it's going to be until I get to the store. So I get there, I look around, and there's not a huge variety of stuff, but there are roses. What I love doing is sometimes just getting a whole lavish bunch of roses and then arranging them, usually in a dome. It's kind of a very classic shape. So that's what we're doing today. I made this planter over the summer. It's called a jardiniere, and I recently discovered it is a beautiful thing to use for a flower arrangement full of roses. But because I made this as a planter and it has a hole for drainage, if I'm using something like this to make an arrangement inside the house, I need to actually address this situation. So what I do, just to address drainage, I don't want this to leak because there's going to be water in here. I actually just line the bowl with a piece of plastic. And if you want to make a flower arrangement in a flower pot or something that does have a drainage hole, you can often find a plastic container that will fit nicely inside the flower pot, and it won't be seen once the arrangement's made. Because this is low and shallow, I didn't really have anything that would fit in here nicely, so I've done this before and it does work. So that's the first step, lining the jardiniere with some plastic. Now, the next step is to prepare the thing that's going to hold the roses in place. This stuff here is called Oasis, and it's what's used in flower arranging. I don't use this often. Usually when I'm making a flower arrangement, I use chicken wire. But for this specific arrangement of roses, I use Oasis. This is how it comes. You can get it at a craft store or floral supply place. Even a flower shop sometimes sells the Oasis. And the thing about the Oasis is the way you soak this is very important. So let's do that together. You need some water. And I put the flower food directly into the water before I soak the Oasis. And then just give that a nice stir. Oh. Now, this is what I learned about Oasis. You don't take this and plunge it in there. What you do is you take it and you lay it gently, just lay it on the top. And what will happen is the Oasis will pull up the water and slowly sink to the bottom. Okay, and then you just leave it there. You don't want to use it like a sponge and just plunge it under the water. And now I'm going to turn it over and allow it to soak up the water from the other side. So when you're making an arrangement like this, you want the Oasis to be completely soaked with water. And if you plunge it in the water, it'll get air pockets, and it might seem from the outside that the whole thing has absorbed water, but at the core, there will be air pockets where there's no water. And why that is not a good thing is because when you start sticking the rose stems inside, if the rose stem is in a place that's completely dry, the rose is not going to get any water and it's just going to wither. So it is very important that the Oasis is soaked properly with water so that it's completely penetrated. And you just take your time with this. So, I mean, the water level of this container has gone down significantly. You can kind of hear it. It's bubbling. While that's going, I'm going to start to put the Oasis in my container. I put this in here like this, and I just squeeze it into place, okay? That's nice and firm. And what I'm gonna do with this piece is I'm gonna cut pieces off and stick them in here. So this has sunk to the bottom. Now I'm gonna flip it over and put it over that way. And I need a knife. There's my little palette knife. I had it in here somewhere. Now that's a chisel. And that's a hammer. That's a rubber mallet. Oh, where are you? Oh, here you are. Hiding from me. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I want a piece for over here, and I want a piece for over here. And what I'm gonna do is just cut with my, look, okay, this is the test. When I slice it and I look at the cross section, it's completely soaked, except for this little spot right here. You see that? That indicates that this little spot is dry. So if this is almost completely soaked, I'm fine with this. But if you plunged it under the water and pulled it out and there's air pockets in, if you cut it and you see there's big chunks, put it back in the water. If you see there's big chunks that have not been soaked. So what I do is I just squeeze these in here like this. Okay, that's good. I need another piece. It's like cutting cheese or cutting soap. Okay, that's gonna go in there. I'm also gonna fill these corners. So I just need little triangle shapes. There's a nice little triangle shape. It's so satisfying. One last triangle needs to be, I think that will be good. Perfect, look at that. There, the flower arrangement is done. At this point, I trim this plastic because now I know, okay, the plastic is lining the thing securely. The Oasis has pushed the plastic down so I can cut off all the excess because I don't want to see this plastic in the finished arrangement. So I cut it right to the top. Okay, there, that looks very good. Okay, it's heavy because this is full of water. Jetzt brauchen wir die Rosen. Okay. Wir haben so viele schöne Rosen hier. This is very extravagant. To fill this thing properly, I need 6 to 8 dozen roses. This is not my average flower arrangement, but here's the thing. You can reserve something like this for a birthday, for Valentine's Day, for an anniversary. But you know what's even much more special than going out and splurging on roses on one of those days? Is going out and splurging on roses like this on a random Tuesday. That is the sort of thing that has changed my life. My ability to think outside the convention that society has created for us of when we should be good to ourselves. Oh, it's my birthday. I'm going to treat myself. Oh, it's an anniversary. I'm going to treat myself. Oh, it's Mother's Day. Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, those are the days when roses sell the most. But there's this wonderful old Carter family song that I love. Give me the roses while I live, trying to cheer me on. Useless are flowers that you give after the soul has gone. And that really resonates with me because there are certain days when I'm doing my grocery shopping and I see the flowers and I think, I'm just going to buy flowers today. And I'm going to take them home and make an arrangement. And it might be something that no one sees other than me. But every time I pass the arrangement, it just makes me smile. And that is enough. That's worth it. These are the sorts of things that I feel we should all learn to cultivate for ourselves in order to make your life just more enjoyable. Okay? It doesn't have to be a special occasion to go out and have a little splurge on flowers. I'm going to start with the outside perimeter of the container. That's where I'm going to arrange the roses first, okay? And I look at the roses and I look at the various states of bloom. So here's a rose that is fairly open, okay? And now here's a rose that is very closed. So those two roses are very different in size at this point. But this rose that's a tight bud, even this is going to continue to open up. So I'm very conscious of that as I'm putting the roses in and as I'm gauging how much space to put in the blooms. Is the rose closed? It's going to open up. I'm going to give it some more room. This rose is open. I'm going to put it in and I'm going to put the next rose closer to it. So I like to start with the open roses on the base layer, and then as I work to the top, I put the closed roses more at the top. It's just an aesthetic thing. The goal is that in this container, I create a dome. Take a rose. We have no leaves in this arrangement, so all the leaves are going to be taken off. Cut the stem at an angle. That's for two reasons. When you cut the stem at an angle, it gives more surface area for the stem to pull water up to the bloom. The second thing is it creates a point. It creates like a little sharp point, and that point is what we're going to use to stick into the Oasis, okay? My first row of roses I'm going to put right at the base, touching or hugging the rim of this pot. And the stems don't have to be cut very long. I mean, really, 3 or 4 inches is enough. And I'm going to just work my way around here. There. Okay, again, just sort of looking through all the roses and picking ones that are a little more open. And if there's a petal that's a little frayed or a little withered, just take it off at this point. And these will open up. So if there are little gaps in between, over the course of a few days, they will fill out as the roses open up further. Okay. Let's see here. Sometimes I need to lift it up to look at it at eye level. Wow, it already looks great. So every day I actually top up this arrangement. I pour water in between so that the Oasis soaks up more water, just to keep the flowers hydrated. And the last time I did this, the arrangement lasted for about a week. Like, this is not short-lived. One more. Okay. As you build these layers, you have to be very conscious of where you're putting the stem in the floral foam, and you can't keep making holes in this because it'll crumble and fall apart. So this is not very forgiving if you're gonna keep pulling things in and out. So what I do is I just hold the stem, and sometimes these roses, like, they're not perfectly straight. They sometimes have a curve to them close to the flower head. So I actually use that curve, and I hold the stem in my hand, and I just place it first. And I figure out, okay, where I want it. Well, I don't want it this way because this is curving down. I want it to sit kind of very relaxed like that. The bottom layer is also the furthest out. I want the next layer to be slightly in, tucked in. So not like this, but slightly tucked in. So I lay it there, and now I can see, oh, the stem's kind of over here, so I'm going to insert the stem like there, okay? And that's sitting nicely. It's not as complicated as it might seem, but you do have to give it some thought. Okay, the next stem, I'm gonna try to aim for right here in between these roses, like that. And as I said before, these are gonna open up slightly. As you build the layers, you might need to keep the stems longer and longer. You know, I don't mind this little green. I'm gonna leave it in. And you can pull them out. Like if you pushed it into the foam too much, you can adjust slightly afterwards. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going with this level. Sometimes I get flowers, like in the springtime, especially if I go to my friend's place in Rhode Island where daffodils are just blooming abundantly in their fields. I cut daffodils and I just put them in a vase, and it's a very simple arrangement. But then sometimes the flower arrangements that I make are very, very dramatic. And I would say that this is a very good word to think of when you're making a flower arrangement, because where you place the stems or how you actually put the flowers into the container can be really dramatic or simple. And this arrangement is, as I said, I would say this is high drama. This is like operatic. Dee 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 dee. Oh, perché see. I do think it helps. It helps when you're thinking of a song in your head that your arrangement reminds you of, and then you sing that song while you're making your arrangement. Okay, I'm closing in on it, and you can see that I'm forming this dome. And as I'm going, I'm looking around, and if I see, oh, there's a rose that's a little too far sunken in, then I'll lift it up a little bit. That's why it's better to have the stems a little longer so that you have some give. You can lift them up and move things around. Even twist them around if you need to. Just so that they sit like really nicely together to create this domed shape. And this is the point at which I'm looking at the small spaces, and then I'm going into my pile of roses and finding various states of openness to fit in the spaces. Like I can see there's a little gap here, right here, and this fits really nicely in there. Right there. I feel fresh flowers can add such an element of joy and beauty to your life. And for hundreds of years, it was something that people did. In My Fair Lady, she sells flowers in Covent Garden. People bought fresh flowers and put them on their tables and put them in their homes. And I encourage everyone to take up that practice, especially if you live in a place where you can go out and forage in the wild, like pick wildflowers, or if you have a garden. When I was growing up, my parents kept a beautiful garden, and we had lots of roses growing in the garden, and the smell of the roses were so wonderful. And I always wanted to cut them and put them in vases, but my mom didn't want me to cut them off the plant because she enjoyed them on the plant itself, that's the case with a lot of people. They don't want to cut them off the plant when they're blooming in the garden. But if you have a lot of roses that you grow, making something like this out of your own roses, I mean, it would smell incredible. Now we're reaching the finicky bit. We're coming to the end, and I'm just finding the roses that will create the best shape for the very top of this. And if there's something that's not working, don't be lazy and just settle at this point. Really tweak it so that it's perfect. Here's the last place for a rose, right here. Okay, I hope you could see that I was working my way to the top, and when I get right to the top, you kind of just see where you need to insert a bloom to close the dome. It's like building the Brunelleschi's dome in Florence, you know. You want it to be a nice, beautiful, even arch. And it really, at the end here is where it gets tricky, because sometimes the stem isn't long enough or it's curved. I just want this to be perfect. There. Okay. And looking at it, you need to really look at this at eye level. And there will always be like a good side. There will always be one side that's better than the other side, or there's always a front and a back to these arrangements once you assess. But it's at this point that I start just going in and tweaking and raising certain blooms and pushing certain ones in just to even things out right before I put in the last stem. Okay, is that going to fit in there? I think maybe I can get two more in there. Oh, one more. One more. Okay, there's the last bloom. And just going to tweak it a little bit. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, down to eye level. Check. The more you handle the blooms, the more bruised the petals will become. So you don't want to do too much of this. You want to keep it at an absolute minimum. I mean, if you don't have to touch them again, don't keep touching them. There. Now I need to put it up to actually see it where it's going to go. Let me clear out this mess. Okay. There. Okay. Oh, she's heavy. Now, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Wow. Have to step back. You always have to step far back. Just looks unreal. Let's find the perfect side. I think it's right there. Well, there you have it. A beautiful domed rose arrangement. Not for Valentine's Day. Not for a birthday. Not for an anniversary. Not for Mother's Day. Just on an average Tuesday. Treat yourself. Bring fresh flowers into your life. And enjoy every single simple, ordinary day. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.